Hey y'all, welcome back. I'm so excited for today's video. I'm going to be starting Valentine's Day projects, and Valentine's holds a very dear place in my heart. Of course, you know, nothing sappy or anything like that, but it is my daughter's birthday. So Valentine's Day has a whole other meaning for me, and I'm really excited to be kind of kicking off 2022 with some Valentine's Day content. I'm just, this stuff's so cute. So we're going to be starting today with a topper for a 20-ounce tumbler, and I know this seems kind of backwards to make the topper first, but honestly, I just can't wait. I'm just too excited about the toppers. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of my supplies together, and we're going to get to putting this together. Not exactly sure exactly the direction I'm going with this topper yet. I have not used any of these new little acrylic pieces that I have, so we're just going to kind of see how it goes, and I'm hoping that by the end of it we've got a beautiful topper. I do have tumblers that are going to be coordinating with the toppers that I make, but I couldn't wait. I wanted to get the toppers done, so that's what we're doing today. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so just to go over some of the supplies that you will need if you're wanting to follow along. You will need a silicone mold. This is a car coaster mold. I actually just had a recent video on how to clean these, which this one, I mean, as you can see, it's not perfectly clean, but that doesn't matter. We're using glitter today, so if there's little remnants of glitter in here from other projects, no big deal. But yeah, you will need a silicone car coaster mold, and then all of my toppers I like to make magnetic. Some people do directly fuse the toppers to the lid itself, but my preference is that you're able to remove the topper if you want to use the tumbler without a topper, or just to make the lid easier to clean, you can just take the topper right off and clean your lid thoroughly and then replace the topper. So I do all of mine magnetic, and so I'm going to kind of show you how to do that. But you will need this silicone mold, and then you'll need the magnets themselves, which, you know, I'm not prepared, so hold on, let me grab one of those right quick. Okay, so these are the magnets that I use. I get these on Amazon. They are just little bitty magnets. They're just little like button magnets, teeny tiny. These, even though they're small, they have a very strong grip. So I use 2 of these in each topper, and then 2 more to attach them to the lid. So 4 magnets for each cup. And these are pretty inexpensive. You get a pack of 200 on Amazon for like, I think, 10 bucks. So magnets, and then of course the glitter. Today we are going with reds. So I've got Bloody Perfection. This is from Glitter Craze. And this one, I like this glitter, and I actually had got this glitter for Halloween themed cups because of the name, obviously, Bloody Perfection. In the pictures, this looked to be very shiny, but a solid color red, so it didn't have any variations in color. But in person, this glitter, let's see if I can get it, it doesn't have very much dimension. The individual pieces are kind of translucent, and when you cover it with the resin, it loses all of its shine. It just looks like a solid red. Let's see if I can pick up a piece here for you. So it loses all of its, oh, one just fell off. But you can see how it has zero like glitteriness to it. It's just slightly shiny, as you can see there, just slightly. And then when it's covered over with the resin, it just completely loses all of its sparkle. So I have not been able to use this one by itself. I always have to mix it with something else just to kind of give it that dimension and that sparkle. But this works as a great filler. So if I need something red and I don't want to use a lot of the more premium glitters or, you know, the more sparkly glitters, then I'll kind of mix this in and make my own custom blends and use this as kind of just a red filler just to give the depth of color. Now, this has been perfect. I do a lot of like Harry Potter themed cups, so the Gryffindor cups, I use this on it all the time mixed with other glitters, which I make my own custom blend for all of my Harry Potter cups. But yeah, so I've got Bloody Perfection today just because this is going to be going into the base of the topper. It's not super visible. I do want it glittery, but I don't necessarily need to be wasting a whole lot of the really shiny glitters on it. So this is great as a filler for that. And then I'm going to be using one from Maker Flow. This is Chili Pepper. This is a holographic red. This one, super shiny. Absolutely love this shade of glitter. And I've been getting a lot of glitters from Maker Flow. And honestly, I love them. I have glitters from all different brands, and I can't say offhand if I have a favorite at the moment, but these have been very good, so I like these. Alright, so those are the two glitters that we're using, and then, like I said, we're going to be using the silicone mold and the magnets to make our base, and I'm going to be using, excuse me, I'm going to be using Pro-Marine tabletop epoxy to actually cast the base of our topper. And yeah, so let's go ahead and move you over to the other camera. That way you can kind of see a little more up close what we're doing. And let's get started. I'm excited. All right, so we're going to be getting started. I've got my mold here. Let me make sure I'm in frame. Yes. Okay. I've got my mold here. I've got my magnets. And then, like I said, I'm going to be using Pro-Marine tabletop epoxy. This stuff has been great for all of my projects, so that's what I'm going to be using again today. I have a silicone mixing cup and a popsicle stick for us to mix up our base. So the first thing I do when I get started is I take my mold and I go ahead and place my magnets. So I'm going to take one on each side, about halfway mark. And I don't want it to be all the way to the edge of the mold because I want this magnet to be completely embedded inside of the resin. So I don't have to worry about these magnets chipping out or falling out. They'll be completely encased with just the bottoms exposed, so this works perfect for that method. So it doesn't have to be perfectly lined up or anything like that. It'll still serve its purpose. But that's how I place my magnets. And now I'm going to put some gloves on because I am allergic to epoxy. So definitely have to wear my gloves. I have had pretty severe allergic reactions to epoxy. However, UV resin I don't seem to be allergic to. So I know they're completely different things, but I'm much more careful with the regular resin versus the UV stuff. Okay, so I'm going to measure out for one of these 10 milliliters of part A and 10 milliliters of part B for a total of 20. So I'm going to go ahead off camera and I'm going to mix equal parts part A, part B, and I will be right back. I have my equal parts of A and B in my mixing cup here, and I'm going to stir this with a popsicle stick. I'm honestly not too worried about bubbles because even if it has some micro bubbles in it, this is just a base. It'll be mixed with glitter and it won't be that noticeable, nor will it really hurt my feelings. If there's some bubbles in it, it'll kind of give it a cool effect. So we're not worried. It's also kind of cold in my studio today. here in South Carolina, we're having, I would say, an unusually cold winter, but it hasn't been like this all winter. It's just been the last probably 3 weeks has been extremely cold for us, and we've had a lot of winter storms, ice. But we had about 6 inches of snow 2 weeks ago, and that's a lot for us. So it's been a little harder to keep my studio at the proper temperature, and you know, epoxy doesn't like cold. So I'm doing my best to work with what I have, and it's also causing my epoxy to be extremely thick, and thick epoxy holds more bubbles. So once I feel like I've got this completely and thoroughly mixed up, scraping my sides, scraping the bottom really well, and you can see how many bubbles are in that. All right, I'm pretty satisfied with that being mixed thoroughly, and now I'm going to add my glitter. I'm going to take some of the Bloody Perfection. This is the one that's not super shiny, but a very great filler. All right, so we're going to mix that in, and you can see how well that works as a filler, and I do like that it has all the different sizes of glitter. Okay, and now I'm going to add the chili pepper. We're just going to get some of that. And I'm mixing this in just for the variance of color. The chili pepper is a darker red, and also I want to bring the sparkle. Alright, so I'm going to let this sit for probably about 3 to 5 minutes, just to kind of let some of those bubbles come to the surface. That way we don't have quite as many to deal with. It has been about 4 minutes. You can see it's cleared up quite a bit. There's still a lot of bubbles on the surface, but again, no big deal. I have my heat gun, as you can see. So we're going to go ahead and pour this. I'm just going to pour it into the center and just kind of let it spread out as it wants to. Just like that. All right. And what I have here is going into a second mold. So the 10 milliliters of A and B will create 2 of these. So I'm going to go pour this into a second mold right quick. Alright, I'm going to set this to the side, and as you can see, we've got a lot of micro bubbles coming to the surface of the one we poured first. And that is great. So we're going to hit it on low with our heat gun and just kind of pop some of those bubbles. We're going to set these to the side. I'm probably going to just give them a full 24 hours of cure time, and then we will move on with the next. But I do have one that I poured yesterday that we're going to continue with today. So I'm going to go ahead and unmold this and show you guys what this looks like on bottom. So you can see the glitter on the bottom is pretty dispersed. You can tell the patches that have that Bloody Perfection that kind of look just plain red, and then you can see all of the holographic in between. And then you can see the magnets. So the magnets are covered on all the way around on the top side, and then on the bottom side, because they were placed directly into the mold, the bottom side of the magnet is exposed. So this will give it a very clean connection to the magnet that's going to be on the lid itself. Okay, so for this next part, you're going to need your magnetic base, and then we're going to need whatever you're going to decorate your topper with, which in this case I'm using these acrylic ice cubes. It's like a vase filler, but they're like irregular cut. They look a lot like ice cubes. This is what I use on majority of my toppers. So I'm going to be using some of that, and then I'm going to be using this Valentine's mix that I found. It's got clear of the large diamonds. It's got small little gemstone diamond shapes. It's got hearts, and then it's got these little lips. How cute. So we're going to be using a combination of the ice cubes and the table scatter. That's what it's marketed as, like a party decoration. So we're going to be using a mix of those. I'll probably build majority of my base with the ice cubes and then kind of decorate the top with these so that they're visible. And then what's great about having the red base is when you put these clear acrylics on top, they kind of shine that red through. You can still see some of the red being visible, so it's wonderful. All right, so to attach these to the base, I'm going to be using UV resin. You can get this on Amazon. It comes with 2 bottles to a box, like 100-gram bottles. And that goes a pretty long way. But to cure the resin, you're going to need either one of 2 things. You need a UV flashlight like this one. This is what I started with. I have done entire toppers with just the flashlight, but it does get a little tiresome, so I ended up getting one of these. This will be kept off camera because obviously this thing's huge and bulky, but this is a UV nail lamp. So I can just set them inside, as you can see, and then the UV light turns on and it cures sitting inside. So this has been a game changer for me because I don't have to sit here manually and hold the flashlight to each little individual piece and cure it and then hope that I don't miss anything. I just put the entire piece inside the nail lamp and it's guaranteed to cure the entire thing. One other thing I need to note, when you are using UV resin, you have to make sure that all the pieces that you're going to be placing the resin onto are transparent, translucent, basically that the UV light can pass through it. The first part that I always do is I use the little ice cubes, and this works perfectly with this irregular shape that they have, because the reason for using the car molds is because this little notch, which is meant to allow you to pick this up out of your car's cup holder easily, this notch works perfectly with a tumbler lid where you can pass your straw. If it did not have this notch, this topper would completely block off the spot for your straw. So these work perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and place these 2 irregular pieces along this edge here by taking a bead of UV resin. It's way thicker when it's cold. Okay, so I just place a bead right there, and this is going to be basically just to tack it into place. So I just kind of take those and set them where I want them to go, and then I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to put it into the nail lamp and cure these 2 pieces into place because I want to make sure that this is not obstructed at all. So I always get those 2 pieces in place first. So I'm going to go ahead and cure this and putting it into my lamp for about 90 seconds. These are now good and secure into place. So I'm just going to start running a bead of UV resin along this outer edge. I'm going to cure that and then we'll fill in the center. Same thing, just kind of run a little bit of UV resin in the center, place my little pieces, cure it. So now that we've got our base layer kind of tacked into place, I want to make sure that this is fully fused to the base and I don't have to worry about these popping off. So I'm going to take my UV resin and I'm going to go all along the edges here in between each piece and kind of fill in a little bit of the gap. It does not have to be completely filled in, but you just want to give a good connecting piece of resin from ice cube to ice cube. I call them ice cubes, you know, whatever. These little base filler pieces, I call them ice cubes. But as you can see, I'm just going to run like a little bead in between each one, and that just kind of connects each one to each other and connects each one to the base. This just makes it much more secure. I'm going to take and kind of connect each one on the back side of each cube, just a little dot, and then do the same thing kind of in between each of them in the center, just kind of running a little bead of resin. All right, so I'm going to put this back into the nail lamp for another 90 to 120 seconds. Now we can move on to layer number 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of make a another layer of these cubes, and this is going to be more towards the center. We're kind of just trying to build this up into a mound, and I'm using these in the middles, and I want these all on the outside portion so they're visible. There's no point in wasting the pretty ones inside. They're just going to be covered. So we're going to take these, and they're irregular shapes, so you just kind of have to let them fall how they want to fit together. No two toppers are just alike for this reason. Each of these just kind of fit where they want to fit. So now we've got kind of this second middle layer. I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the first layer, and I didn't bother tacking it down from the bottom because everything's so lumpy, bumpy, and irregular on this bottom layer that the chances of me putting resin on there and it making a good contact is little to none. So I just do it from the top, and I just give a good little connection piece between each one, and these two don't really touch, so that's okay. And then the center one, just kind of run a bead all the way around. And then I'll let that run for a second. So what this is going to do is just going to kind of sink down underneath the pieces and touch the bottom. And once I let that run for a second, I go around with just kind of another little swirl of resin. And we're going to let that sit for a second and just kind of seep down into there. And it'll just go into every little crack and crevice, and it'll connect it to the bottom layer, and it connects these together really well. So we're going to go ahead and stick this into the nail lamp again for another minute and a half, 2 minutes. Now we are going to get more into the fun part. So now that I have a nice base here, we're going to start using our pieces along with some more of these to kind of build in and fill this and decorate it how we want to. So the first thing I've got to kind of figure out is, do I want to do one of these little diamond pieces on top? And if so, I've got to figure out how to get this to stand, or if I want it at an angle, or how I want to do that, or if I want to go with a heart or a little kiss. Now, I don't want to just lay it flat like that. That's kind of boring. And also, I don't really like the angle of it laying flat, because you got to think this is going to be a topper. You want it to be showy and spectacular. And so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these little pieces here, little ice pieces, and kind of create a prop for my little set of lips here. Something like that. And once I have those two placed the way I want them, this is where this little flashlight's going to come in handy, because I don't want to risk picking this up and moving it over to the big nail lamp. So I'm going to kind of tack these into place. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this UV resin, and I'm going to place a bead in between the two pieces to fuse them together. And then I'm also going to place a bead on the individual pieces to the little ice cubes that are beside them, and this is going to just hold it in place enough to where I can really move it to the lamp. So we're going to take our UV flashlight, and we're just going to hold it here probably about 30 seconds to do the trick, just to kind of tack it into place where I don't have to worry about it falling over. Okay, so now we're held into place. Now, I don't want to depend on just those little spots to secure that, so I'm going to run a little bit more epoxy or resin, UV resin, kind of up underneath, and just giving it the best chance of staying in place. So just a little bit there, a little more along this back side where they're connected together, some behind it, and then around the base of that cube we added. All right, now I'm going to put this in there to cure, and then we'll move on to our next little step. Now we've got that main piece in place. Super happy with how that looks. And now I'm going to just kind of decorate the sides. I'm going to take, you know, these different little Valentine's Day themed pieces, and we're just going to use that same method, just kind of tack them into place, then secure them with a larger bead of resin, and then cure it. And I'm just going to put this into time lapse and finish getting this all finished up. Alright, so we are now on to the next day. I definitely could have got this done yesterday, but life happens. So I had a ton of other things that I had to take care of yesterday, so I had to just kind of set this to the side and come back to it. This is what it's looking like so far. We've got the little heart and the lips and the diamonds, and it's looking super cute. I've pretty much got all of the large pieces that I want on here, and I'm kind of debating. This is what the bottom looks like. Pretty sparkly red. But I'm kind of debating with myself if it needs a little something to make these stand out a little bit more. They look really good in this bright lighting, but without the bright lighting, they just kind of seem to fade into the clear ice cubes. So I was thinking about using some red, like irregular cut glitter, foil glitter, and putting some of that on the ice cubes and not on these, just kind of like dotting it here and there throughout the ice cubes. And I just feel like that would help these stand out a little bit. I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna go for it. Yeah, so if that doesn't end up being what I want it to be necessarily, I think it should be pretty easy just to kind of take off before I like epoxy over it. I'll just kind of tack it into place and see how I feel about it. But yeah, so that's where we're at now. So I think that's going to be what I'm going to do, is I'm going to see how it looks with a little bit of that glitter going through it, because I just want those little diamond pieces to stand out just a little bit more. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the UV resin, and I'm just going to make a couple of dots and place this like foil confetti glitter. It's like irregular cut, big, small pieces, and just kind of see how I feel about it. I'm going to do it on the back side first. And if I don't like it, I'll just use like a weeding tool or a little razor knife or something to remove it. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started with that now. Okay, so this is kind of what it's looking like so far. I like it. Yes, I'm very happy with that, and it does kind of give the little diamond pieces a little more prominence, because they don't blend in quite as well with the ice cubes. I like the pop of color, I like the foil, so yes, I'm happy I did this. So I'm going to keep placing these kind of around, and then I will cure it in the nail lamp. Okay, so now that I have those all tacked into place, I'm happy with the placement. I want to go around and secure everything. So the bottom layer we've already, filled in and secured really well. So now I want to do all of these extra little Valentine's Day pieces, and then I also want to put an extra layer over all of the foils that I just put on here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and then cure again in the UV lamp. Future Alyssa here, because when I went to go upload and edit all of my footage for the topper video, I realized I never completed showing you guys what it looked like and the results and talking a little bit about it. I have no outro. So we are back. It's been about 3 or 4 days, and you can probably hear all of my noisy stuff in the background, so I apologize for that. I was not expecting to have to film this, but it is what it is. So anyway, we did the Valentine's Day topper, and I am absolutely in love with how this turned out. It is so pretty, and I cannot wait for you guys to see the tumbler that this goes with. It's amazing. But that'll be in an upcoming video. I don't know if it'll be the next one, but it will be coming. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the completed topper. Let's see if I can get it into focus. Okay. How pretty is this? It's got the little kiss, the little lips, kiss, whatever. And all of the shiny sparkles. I love that I added the foils. I'm so happy with how this turned out. And like I said, the bottom has the magnets, so this will be removable off of the top of the tumbler. So these are just really cool additions to make your tumbler just extra special. But I definitely wanted to pop in here and show you guys what it looked like. We went through all of that, and then I realized I never showed the finished product. So this is it, and I appreciate you guys following along. It was a longer video, and I do apologize for that, but I feel like I want to be in depth, so if somebody wants to follow along, they have that option. And I just really enjoy sharing everything with you guys. But be on the lookout for upcoming Valentine's Day content coming up. I'm really getting into this series. I've got so much cool things, or I've got so much cool stuff that I've got coming up, and I'm so excited to share it with you guys. So be on the watch for that, and I will see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I love you guys.